driverless cars, connected services, new sharing concepts. The automotive industry is in the midst of change. The Internet of Things is opening up a whole new world of possibilities that will push the boundaries of mobility. But what will the future really look like on the roads? One thing is for certain. New technologies are going to revolutionize today's mobility. They will turn the journey into a digitally enhanced experience and connect the vehicle to its surroundings. With Bosch, connected mobility is becoming a reality, more efficient, safer, and more comfortable and convenient.
Itaú Veículos. Soluções completas, ferramentas modernas, alta tecnologia. Reconhecimento facial, mais segurança e agilidade na compra e venda de veículos. Chat na plataforma digital. Comunicação mais fácil entre a concessionária e nosso time. Open Banking. União entre plataformas e parceiros. Inteligência artificial. Essencial na captura e gestão de leads. Soluções de mobilidade. Com a ConnectCar, seu cliente vai mais longe. Olhamos para o futuro. Queremos sempre mais. Vamos juntos? Itaú Veículos. Nosso negócio é viabilizar o seu.
Mounting exterior automotive parts can be a slow process that requires the use of a noxious chemical adhesion promoter. However, our Tessa ACX primerless line of high-performance double-sided acrylic foam tapes eliminates the need for primers. These tapes quickly achieve a high level of strength and provide the thermal expansion characteristics needed when mounting side moldings, decorative trims, emblems, and other exterior attachment parts. To learn more about the benefits and cost savings of using our Tessa ACX Plus primerless line on difficult-to-bond substrates such as polypropylene EPDM, TPO, and TPE, visit tessatape.com.
Hello, you're all most welcome to the second day of our journey by Automotive Business ABX 20. The day today is going to be special. We have a morning full of content and we'll be talking about the future of distribution. I would like to thank our partners for being with us and all the sponsors supporting ABX, our ambassadors, our partners, the excellent team we have, and all of you for being with us. I would like to remind you that you have a very important role. I would like you all to participate, send in questions, be active, because without you, we cannot prepare adequate content for you. So join in. I would like to invite Giovanna now to for the opening of this morning on distribution content. Good morning all. This opening is very quick. I will just get the ball rolling, and I will invite our partners to open the day with the Auto Avaliar. I will give the floor to J.R. Caporal and Daniel Nino. They are both from Auto Avaliar. Good morning, all. Good morning, and thank you very much. It is a great pleasure to be here, Giovanna. Nino and I will share a few ideas with you. The title of the session is very pertinent. What we had to go through during the pandemic and how the automotive market was affected. So, Nino, please say something as well. Yes, we intend to talk a little. Do you hear me? Yes, go on. I have a delay here, but I would just like to thank you for having us, and I would like to talk a little about the challenges we faced during the pandemic and what we think of the future market. Well, thank you very much. Feel free. We are loading our presentation, and we are extremely pleased to have you here. Our audience is warming up. We can see people sending messages in. And remember, you can send comments and questions throughout the presentations. We are here for this exchange. And if there are questions that Nino and Caporal cannot answer, we will find the answers for you throughout the day. We have to check if we have the material ready for the presentation. Okay, it is okay, so now we may start. As Giovanna said, I am Caporal. I am the CEO of Auto Avaliar and Mega Dealer. And as we said in the beginning, I find it important for us to remember our figures and how they were affected during the pandemic. As you can see, we have today 7 offices, 5 of them abroad, and we have 200 uh, employees. We have 180,000 sales per year, 206,000 evaluations per month. Nearly 60% of the passenger cars market in Brazil, and 32,000 stores are registered in our platform buying from us. So, what happened? The pandemic changed practically everything. Even though we we recovered some figures, we have to remember that on the 13th March, we sent everyone home. We were one of the first companies to send everyone home. So, Monday, 16 of March, everyone was working in home office already. And we used to use home office before for several reasons, so we did it quite well and quickly. However, the social distancing and stay home and so on, all of this affected business in the automotive sector. In fact, like it affected all businesses throughout the country and in the world. So the billing of companies went down. And then we thought, how can we help the automotive sector to come out of this? And it was nice because we had to think outside the box and we had to try different things in a market that was totally stagnant. Unemployment that was high already before we thought was going to increase, and this is in fact what happened. We haven't finished the pandemic yet, It's still on, but it did change the automotive market in general. Now, the thing is, how can we help people and the market? How can we get the two things together? And so we thought of a solution, and the solutions I will show you are beyond our scope, really, but we thought we have to help the automotive sector. The first of them, well, we first of all thought of IndyCar. What is it? It is a system of indication, of recommendation. It's not just an idea, it's to do with carrying out the idea. So we were thinking, how can we carry this out differently? How can we manage it differently? So IndyCar was created for that with three pillars. First of them is the salesman. We have the largest and best advertisers and buyers base in the market. And then indicators. Well, when we thought of all this, the emergency aid given by the government was not available yet. We were pioneers. At every moment, we had something new, a new way of doing things. And so the leads, these indications are the leads, really. And so thousands of consumers wanted to buy or sell cars. So the first thing we thought was, if everyone goes online, the tendency of the lead cost is going to be higher. The cost of words, the cost of acquiring a customer is going to be higher. We have to use the same words on Google or wherever, but it was going to be more expensive. The second thing we thought was that we had to change the lead generation. We had to do it differently because ideally I shouldn't pay in advance for a lead. I should pay afterwards. And at the same time, this would offer some extra income to thousands of lead charmers around the world. So we thought the following. Everyone knows a person or has someone in the family that will change his or her car in the next 90 days. So we are using this in this idea that John Girardi, who became the greatest car salesman in the world, was based on these leads. And so you need to manage the lead platform. It is connected to the dealer's CRM, and as indications come in, as leads come in, there is this management. The person who offered the lead gets a commission and the car is sold. Likewise, we don't have much time to explain this in details, but I will answer questions afterwards. So in the same way, we thought, for instance, the car is the car a safe place where I won't catch coronavirus? Yes. So lots of people stopped using public transportation in order to use their own cars. But isn't a car a means of transmission? But then we started to think, well, whenever I deliver or receive a car from someone, this car can be a means of transmission. If I go to a dealer or if I go to a body shop or something, the mechanic working on my car may be contaminated. This was an actual car that was delivered in a dealer. So how can you disinfect a car and get it totally free of virus and bacteria and so on? And we created a system for that. It's called EVA, which stands for Automated Vehicle Sterilization. This is a system that I will show you on a video. It is self-explanatory. UV light thrown onto the vehicle, and that eliminates 100% of viruses and bacteria. Virus are eliminated for up to 72 hours. Well, as you could see, the EVA system eliminates 100% virus and bacteria in the car in 2 minutes. It joins two technologies, the UV lamps and peroxidil 4D, and it eliminates 7 times more bacteria and viruses than any other process. So we created this thinking that everywhere in every dealer they will have to eliminate the possibility of contagion when they receive a car or when they deliver a car. So with the system, I can deliver a car within 72 hours after the EVA, totally free of danger. So I will ask Daniel Nino now to tell us about the cherry on the pudding. Show us about it. Well, thank you, Capo. Yes, there are solutions that are making a difference for our clients. I am Daniel Nino. I am the commercial VP of Auto Avaliar, and I thank you again for having invited us. And here we are. As Caporal said, we had big challenges with the pandemic, and we worked a lot on creating solutions for the business and for our customers, and also to help society with the two solutions shown here by Caporal. But the question that remains is what happens to business at home? I think online became extremely important at a point in time when we spent practically 3 months at home. Business shrunk, but it migrated to online. And during this period, Caporal mentioned a few interesting figures. Before the pandemic, we had about 200,000 assess evaluations made physically in dealers throughout Brazil of second-hand cars. And we also made 18,500 sales in January of second-hand cars. This had been our best January. And in April, we suffered a drop of 80% in the number of evaluations. We had a project, in fact, it was called online evaluation, and it represented 1% of our activities before. We accelerated this product and we offered online evaluation to the market, and this allows customers to do 100% of the evaluation remotely at home. So in the beginning of the pandemic, this was 35% of our evaluations, and it became more than 80% online. And a very interesting figure is that we are back to the level of 180,000 evaluations for our clients, and 35% of them are still done online. I think this is very interesting. Even with dealers opening, even if the market is going back to the new normal, online continues to be a trend which I think will not come back. Well, this can be sent to a customer. The customer can access this link, and it will be very easy to register his car. There is a QR code that can be created, and many dealers during the pandemic prepared lives with sales auctions, and they used QR codes to be scanned by customers using the cell phone in order to enter the car evaluation process. This generated lots of leads for dealers. And then there is this magical moment, which is the moment when the customer is charmed. And this is when you decide on the price of a second-hand car. We went down a little in our figures, and we see that 75% of evaluations made today by dealers, they are not absorbed. There are several reasons for that. Well, approval of the customer's record. There are different problems, but we are trying to solve these problems with a product we call Express Sale, which is based on three pillars again. The first pillar is the passing on of the car. We identify the customer has a car to be traded in. However, we understand this car is not the same profile as our own cars, so they have to pass it on. We have 2,000 dealers in Brazil looking for cars. As everyone knows, used cars are lacking in the market. There's a shortage of them. So AutoAvaliar can deal directly with the storekeepers, with the dealers. There must be an evaluation in a showroom, because if for some reason um, there wasn't a deal at the end of the first pillar, then the dealer can contact the customer trying to understand why the deal was not concluded. So we offer the customer the possibility of selling his car using the express way. And we hear proposals from dealers. Technology companies such as AutoAvaliar during the pandemic could send all their workers to work at home office, but the dealer itself has to stay there. They have a role in distribution, and dealers become a hub for the evaluation and sale of cars. So customers could go to the dealers simply to sell their used cars. This customer wants to sell his car, and the environment at the dealer is safe, transparent, and the whole process is very interesting, and it represents one more business opportunity during the pandemic. Dealers are looking for new lines of business in order to increase their revenue. So these are the three pillars that we have in a way automated in order to provide safety. We also have AutoPay, which is our payment system. At the end of the day, the opportunities we need to have are the following. We need to increase the trade in dealers, eliminating intermediaries, and we have to transform dealers into a hub for the inspection and sale of used cars. We can automate the business if we automate all of the processes. There were two solutions we brought to the market very quickly, and I congratulate our development team. They really lost many nights working on transforming the business for our customers. Caporal, I give you the floor back. I came to the end of what I wanted to share, and I'm willing to answer questions if you have any at the end. Well, this was very nice, and I have the challenge to use 1 minute to conclude. Well, yes, I do have a question for you. Eduardo Cavano has a question for you, Caporal. If the EVA system, the EVA system is available, and how much does it cost? Well, it is available and it is done on demand, depending on who is requesting it. It is modular, and the price will depend on the setup, and there is a monthly fee, but I have to analyze the conditions offered by the client in order to talk about the price. Well, you sent us lots of questions that we will be able to discuss later on, but I would like to close by asking you a question. We are in this quicksand, in this pandemic. We don't really know when it ends. We're worried about our consumers, with their income, with our revenue. And I would like to know from you what you think is the future of distribution when we think medium term. Where are we heading? Well, I think not much will change. The way we relate with our customers will perhaps change, but we're doing that already. We all adapted very quickly. The stores, people, processes. But what we're doing today will continue. Online will never disappear when we go back to physical, and physical will not disappear because there is online. Lots of people will prefer to use only online. Lots of people will wish to do just physical. This will happen. And the safety protocols and so on will continue, and some people will do both. They will visit a car and then they will close the deal online. So I think all three models, 100% online, a hybrid, which is digital and physical, and some people will only continue to do physical activities. This is what I believe. I share the same notion as Caporal. What I would like to comment is the following. We must never forget the customer, how they want to be served. As Caporal said, some customers want to be served online, others want to be served physically. At the end of the day, we have to have the two environments to serve our clients. And also, you have a new model now, cars that are owned or that are leased because you just use them, you're not the owner. This has some future too. Well, very good. And to complement what you said, we have a comment here from Leandro Augusto. At the dealers, there's always a discount provided by the manager of the dealer, whereas online it doesn't happen. Well, anyway, Thank you very much. We did start off with this excellent discussion you presented. So I thank Nino and Caporal. I know Caporal will be back at the end and not Nino, but I thank you both very much. Well, we thank everyone in automotive business, technical people, etc. You were all sensational. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Well, to continue with our program, I will now invite Nilson Caldeira, the director of Mega Dealer, and Daniel Paniza Reis. He is a partner of DPR Trading, the Tesla exporter. Our questions will have to do with Tesla and the structure they have for digital cars. Welcome all. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Hello, Giovanna. Is everything all right? Yes, yes. Danielle, is everything all right with you? Good morning, Giovanna. Do you all hear me? Oh, yes, fine. We hear you fine. So I will start with a question addressed to Daniel as I wait for questions from the audience. Please don't be shy. Daniel, I would like you to start uh, telling us about your experience with Tesla and what it is like to work with a brand that is so much desired and so polemic. And tell us also about the Tesla distribution model as compared to traditional companies. Well, my experience with Tesla is really phenomenal. Increasingly, I I was forced to become involved in the purchase of a Tesla, and I fell in love with the car and the brand. Whoever had the opportunity to drive an electric car before knows what I'm talking about. The car sells itself. The best reference for sale of a Tesla is the owner. We don't invest in advertising. And the whole concept, I was listening to the previous speakers, and you had a comment from the site of a listener who says um, they might find the discounts at the dealer but not online. In fact, we have all our own stores. We don't have different dealers fighting each other, fighting for price. Since Tesla is the owner of everything, I don't have to go all over the United States to find a Tesla Model 3 because I know that the price in Coral Gables, 5 minutes away from my home, will be the same as I will find all over the country. So this makes it a lot easier to sell cars, especially for me because I really deal with many cars per year. Very interesting, Daniel. Nielsen is here as someone who knows very well the Tesla uh, resellers. You ask the next question, please. Well, I would just like to add to what Daniel said, referring to the lecture presented by Nina Tagorni from Facebook, that companies need to be born in a social network. And Tesla was born in the internet. And the fact that it was born in the internet makes it very competitive nowadays. I would like to know from Daniel, is Tesla 100% an internet company? How can I buy a car from Tesla? Do I specify everything I want on the internet? Well, you can. You can do everything, the purchasing process using the internet. You would just go to the dealer to collect your car. With the issue of the pandemic, there is a car delivery system. You don't need to talk to anyone. Your document is in the car, you sign it, and you just drop off the documents. So you go into the Tesla site today, configure your car, issue an order. The car will be manufactured 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the configuration. When the car is ready, you will receive messages and emails. You will conclude your registration online and you just go to the dealer to collect the car. Well, Daniel, I'm beginning to receive a few questions from the public. Please do not be shy. I have a question here on the issue of supply, on how do you work on recharging electricity to the car. Could you tell us about this ecosystem? I am the owner of a Tesla now, and I can give you an opinion concerning the way I use the car. 95% of the charges will be at your home. So I have a wall connector that is in place, and this is what I use. As I consume the battery, I program myself to leave the car recharging at home. If the battery is very low, I leave it connected overnight. I can program the car to be recharged from midnight to 6 in the morning. And also, Tesla has a large network of superchargers. Wherever I go, I take my laptop. And in one case, I noticed I would have to drive many miles and I didn't have enough battery. So I looked for the nearest supercharger, and the car will tell me exactly how much I will have of energy in my battery and how much I will need to go to where I have to go and come back. So I go there, I go to the supercharger, I stick the car there, and for 30 minutes I receive this supercharge and I can take my trip. The GPS itself will identify recharge places for you. And the system also calculates, for instance, if I have to go to Jacksonville, 700 miles from Miami, I know with the battery I have, I won't get there. So I shall inform the car I have to go to Jacksonville, and the system will tell me what are the recharge points along the way. So it calculates the trajectory based on your consumption and how much you will need to get there. Well, perfect. Nielsen, you ask the next question. Well, I would like to hook up to what you said about the battery because this is the most polemic issue concerning Tesla and electric cars. What is the guarantee of the battery? How long will you guarantee the battery for? Another question, what about the price in proportion to the value of the car? Well, what defines the values of Tesla? The Tesla configuration is very simple. It's easy to configure a car. One of the things that define this cost is precisely the battery. The first step by someone who wants to buy an electric car, I always recommend that they should check what the needs are, because the use of the car, the requirements, will have an influence on the size of battery. Concerning the guarantee, Tesla will give you 4 years guarantee on the car and 8 years guarantee on the battery. There is more of a guarantee on the battery than on the car. Many people, when they think of buying an electric car, they will say, well, what do I do if the battery is over? There isn't such a thing. In reality, the battery will degrade, and we believe it loses 1% per year. So one battery will take 100 years to degrade itself completely. And there are many specialized companies nowadays, in the same way as you can refurbish a motor, you can refurbish a battery as well. If someone buys a very cheap, I saw this in a social network, someone paid $5,000 for a car because the battery of this car was dead. So he had the battery refurbished, and nowadays he has a car in his garage that's working. I have a question here from Roberto Wagner. He wants to know what are Tesla's plans for the whole country. What is the capillarity? What is the presence of a Tesla brand in the United States? And when exporting to Latin America, what are the volumes like and what are the plans to establish ourselves here more consistently? Well, let's talk about the US first. Tesla revolutionized the market and it works uh, differently from other brands. I say that because I worked for Ford before, and we had a dealer where we had 500 cars, nearly $10 million in inventory. Tesla doesn't have that. Most Tesla stores are like boutiques, and you find a Tesla store with 3 cars in there, and you will get information on the car, and they will invite you to take a test drive. If you like it, together with the salesman, you will configure the car the way you want it, and there will be a lead time. Well, the Association of Dealers in the US was reluctant about Tesla in a few states, but the growth of Tesla, for instance, Michigan, which is a very strong state, already permits Tesla to be there. So instead of Tesla adapting to the market had to adapt to Tesla. Nowadays, Tesla is present in 34 countries with more than 130 stores, and they still do not intend to expand to South America. We have an operation in Mexico and one in Canada. There is much demand of cars for the Caribbean, especially the islands are very interested in solar panels and electric cars, also because of the cost of electricity there. So these islands in the Caribbean will be served first. A factory has been opened in China, and they are concluding a factory in Germany, and I believe they will establish in these regions first, and then later on tackle South America. By the time Tesla gets to South America, they will already have a car around $20,000, which I believe is the ideal price for that market. Well, I would like to touch on a point that will surely be very much discussed in the coming days and months. I'm talking about 5G, and I would like to explore full service drive. And please explain us how FSD works in Tesla and give us details on this operation, please. Well, full self drive or FSD is an optional package and it is evolving. And as it evolves, the value is rising. FSD costed $8,000 a year ago, and now it costs $10,000. FSD is fantastic. I have Tesla. I drive it with FSD, and it is impressive. Whenever, whenever I take someone to take a drive with me, I'm very impressed, first of all, by the acceleration and by the fact that the car can drive itself. It doesn't yet drive itself the whole time due to the regulations in states and cities. The battle is not just around the development of the car itself, but also it has to be allowed to uh, be driverless uh, by the legislation. I heard from a Tesla salesman last week that Mercedes left aside their plan to develop driverless cars because they noticed their gap is so big that no matter how much they invest in money and time, they will never get to the point where Tesla is today. So the system used by Tesla now is probably going to be a reference, and it will provide this service to other brands. Well, Danielle, you raised a point that is quite polemic. If anyone in the audience can talk about it, please let us know. I have a question here. Alexandre Jean sent a question. Alexandre wants to know what the delivery negotiations are like for a used car. And he wants to know about financing as well. So, what happens? And there is a question from Edvard as well. He wants to know how many Tesla cars were sold in Brazil. Well, in Brazil, until the end of the year, I believe we'll have like 100 units in Brazil. And this number was half as much. We doubled the number we had in 2020. We believe in 2021 we will have about 200 cars. I am specialized in vehicle exports, and 90% of the cars I export are Teslas. Everyone wants to have the car, people want to drive the car. This there's no way you won't think of the Tesla if you think of an electric car. My customers come from references, people who already have Teslas and recommend the car. And going back to the first question, my purchase, I did a trade in. I had a used car and I decided to buy a Y model Tesla. So, first of all, I was directed to a page, tesla.com, and I entered there the information on my car, the year, the model, the mileage, and they asked me for 5 pictures of the car. Front, back, both sides. and how many kilometers. Based on that, they sent me an email saying how much they would pay for my car, and if I wanted to put my car up for sale. I said yes. So when I decided to buy my car, I sent all my information, full name, address, social security, all the information, and in 2 hours they came back with the approval. The interest rate was 2.49 per year, which is very good. And I didn't have to talk to anyone. Nobody rang me up. Nobody sent me an email to see if the information was right or not. No. So the day of the purchase, the day my Tesla was delivered, I sent my used car there. They removed the license plate from my old car and put it on the new car, and I sent two documents digitally, and off I went with my Tesla. At the end of the week, the invoices came, and I can pay that monthly at the bank. The question dealt with trade-in cars, used cars. Tesla doesn't focus much on the selling of used cars. When a car goes back to Tesla, it's going to go through an inspection, and they will look into 100 checkpoints, and if the car passes the inspection, it will move on to a used cars auction or another dealer. Tesla will only keep cars that are really impeccable. Nilsson, would you like to add something here? Yes. Well, we are talking about electric cars, autonomous cars. There is significant evolution in this segment. I would like to know from Daniel what the profile is of people who buy a Tesla, and mostly what should be the profile of the salesman. I believe the salesman should be practically an educator, right? Well, Tesla is a new brand. It's very recent. And so the profile I see today is customers very interested in technology. If they want to have an iPhone, they want to have a Tesla. If they have automation at home, they want to have a Tesla. Technology fans. Well, Porsche is presenting Taycan yesterday, in fact, and some customers in Brazil were invited to participate in this launch. It's a fantastic car, but it doesn't have the technology Tesla has. Tesla is a synonym of the most technological electric car in the world. So it's people involved with technology. Also, the point that it is an electric car, it does not pollute. But I think technology is the main factor. Well, mostly children like Tesla very much. And I go around with a Tesla cap and my Tesla shirt and so on. And they all point at me and they say, "Oh, look, this is uh, Tesla, Tesla." And it's similar to what the logo of McDonald's does to children. They like Tesla as well. And there are still many people who don't know the product nor the technology, and they are still a little scared. But I tell them They may not like it very much. You may not know the concept, but I recommend you learn about it because you can be certain if you have children at home, you can ask them what car they like, and I am sure Tesla is the car, one of the cars they like most. This new generation is very much focused on technology. Now, as to the salesmen, they should be young because lots of people want to understand the technology, the iPad and telephone and apps. All this technology is related to Tesla, and this is the young side of the product. The main store I visit is Tesla in Coral Gables. The average age of salesmen there is 22 or 23 years of age. Well, our time is coming to an end, unfortunately, because all this chat on toys for children and toys for adults is very interesting. Daniel, I have a question here from Wilson Toomey concerning tax incentives. What incentives do you have in the US, and are incentives different in the different states? And also, please comment on what you think is a lesson from the Tesla example that could inspire other dealers. And if you can, Daniel, I would like you to tell us a little about your relationship with Tesla. At the end of the day, this is the company bringing this proposal for the future, but it's impenetrable because we never saw the inside of a Tesla factory. So tell us about it. Well, Tesla is really incredible. What I normally say to people, and I see some mistakes in other brands. Tesla could only get to the number of sales they have now is when they developed Model 3. Model S is phenomenal, but Model 3 is an electric car in low cost. Model 3 starts in $35,000, which is affordable. There is credit, and this is where Tesla saw that the market could grow. They have SUVs, they have super sports cars, but they are developing a new frame in order to lower the price of the car. They want to get down to $20,000. Now, the way Tesla works is essential. Well, I speak to other dealers, and the fight for the market between different dealers makes customers very insecure, and we would like to create a situation of one price only everywhere. You see, there will not be little discounts in different dealers. Tesla works at the limit already, and there will be no discounts. The the car is incredible, and the way dealers work, take away the insecurity of buyers, and the whole thing is different from what we have in the market. Could we have some final comments from you? I have just one final comment concerning the fact that Tesla is a great competitor, and you can only grow if you have a great competitor in the market. What I see with Tesla is the opportunity OEMs, associations, and dealers have to learn from this great competitor. And there are some essential points: technology, driverless cars, electric cars. Everyone will get there, maybe with some differences concerning vis-a-vis Tesla. But the question is, how can I sell this car? There is a single price. And what is the profile of my teams? What sort of uh, aftermarket team do I have to have? I think the whole network should start thinking about how to compete 3 years from now. Excellent comments. Daniel, I thank you immensely for being with us, and I thank Nielsen very much. It was excellent to have you here at ABX 20. Well, everyone, we continue with our program, and the next discussion is going to be moderated by Pedro Gotney. And as he takes his place, we're going to show you a short video.
A Autoavaliar é uma plataforma online, referência no mercado, que revolucionou a vida das concessionárias, lojistas e pessoas. Oferecendo soluções eficientes, rentáveis, transparentes e seguras, nossos números dão a dimensão da força Autoavaliar. E continuamos expandindo nossos negócios no Brasil e no mundo. Autoavaliar, tecnologia e inteligência acelerando o seu negócio.
Good morning, and how are you all? We shall continue with ABX 20 in a digital format, in the hope that next year we'll be able to welcome you all to that gigantic meeting we promote. We shall continue to talk about the future of distribution, but we're going to open some space here to talk about price and demand. And Fabio Braga, the director of Mega Dealer, is going to take the floor. Are you there, Fabio? Good morning, all. How are you? All is well. And listen, Fabio, your presentation may be an affirmation or a question. Demand and prices will continue to grow. Is this a question or a statement? And in answer to that, please take the floor. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I thank you very much on behalf of Mega Dealer. I would like to ask production to show us the first slide. My name is Fabio Braga. I am the country manager responsible for Mega Dealer operations in Brazil. Mega Dealer has been in the market for over 20 years, and we work mostly in three niches: in consulting to OEMs and distribution. We also work on data analytics and research, and we work on training. Now, Pedro has given us a challenge. I will give you some technical information that will help us understand if prices and demand will continue to go up. I believe all of us in the auto industry would like to know about it. This is just a few headlines that were recently published. For instance, we see here the prices of cars go up in Brazil. This was published by Jornal do Carro. The other talks about the recovery in the automotive sector, and the ugly duckling is a winner here. in used cars. This is just to illustrate what the specialized media says about prices. In this case, for instance, we bring information on the stock turn. Data are collected from this Autoavaliar platform in days. And what is an inventory turn? It means the day when the car was included in the platform and the date when it was sold. Inventory turn measures the speed of negotiations. After March, where we had the global pandemic, inventory turns increased a lot over 2 months to sell a used car. However, in the last 5 months, up until October, we see that the negotiation and the trading of used cars became much faster. In October, there was an impressive number, 32 days for a used car in the platform. This speed is increasing constantly, and we are faster now than what we had last year. This shows the market is selling used cars very quickly. However, when we detail the data and split it over the different brand chains, for instance, we see dealers selling used cars in 33 days. This is the average. But then there are others taking a little over 40 days, like Nissan, Citroën, and Kia. And we see cars that are very much sought in the market, such as Renault, Hyundai, Toyota, etc. So it depends on the brand. There is a dispersion in the data when we look at the networks of dealers and we talk about used cars. This is a very technical slide, but it's very interesting. You can see the 2020 performance in the blue bars. You see the average price of vehicles sold, and you can see that this average price came to a peak in June 2020, 47,000 reais. And this average ticket has come down a little from July to October. But the value of sold cars is above 45,000 reais. And so if we compare this to last year or the first quarter this year, it is more. So we're comparing the purchasing price to the sale price. Well, without considering adjustments and cosmetic arrangements or repairs done to the car. We're just talking about the gross value. We see an increase in the last months. And in October, it comes to record numbers. In average, 6,149 reais. So there is much acceleration in the selling of used cars, but it is also a very strong market from a financial point of view. Here we'll talk a little about new cars, brand new cars. And one of the studies carried out by Mega Dealer, we see this line showing the average gross margin and how these gross margins behave. You can see on the left the percentages. So in brand new cars, we see Toyota has higher margins, especially by selling Corolla Hybrido. But we see a dispersion in the margin going from 6 to 8%, especially if we're talking about a car with a higher value. It varies from 6 to 8%, but there is a good profitability then for new and hybrid cars as well. And here we're trying to measure what the volume is in the industry as a whole in the evaluations. And the data come from the Auto Avaliar platform. This is just the figures referring to the dealers' networks. We're not talking about independent dealers nor about truck dealers. The market as a whole, after the pandemic, presented a V shaped recovery. We had this big and quick drop, but we're now having a big and quick recovery. Once again, in October, 140,000 evaluations were made, and this is close to the 2019 levels where we had 153,000 evaluations. And we should also mention in gray the number of captures. And we would like to stress here the opportunity of absorbing vehicles. And this can be perhaps due to a shortage in the inventory of used cars in Brazil. And Auto Avaliar covers over 2,000 dealers, but we see there is a shortage of used cars. And the big challenge we understand from now on is how to guarantee that stock replacement will take place linearly and efficiently so there will be no shortage of products. So, if the acceleration of sales is very strong, if the margins are good, a dealer has to pay attention to its inventory in order not to miss this market. Let us remember that the capturing of used cars is always related to the purchase of new cars. And this could be one path towards increasing the sales of brand new cars. So one more slide just for us to recall the main points we mentioned here during this presentation. First of all, we're very clear and very sure that the market of new and used cars is heated up. OEMs as much as stopped their production for over 60 days. And In the used cars market, the acceleration of sales is happening faster and and stronger. And so this is a moment in time when we can say the market is hot and heated up. We would also like to point out what we said about used cars. The big challenge in dealing with accelerated sales and good margins, we have to manage the inventory of used cars wisely. It's very important at this point for this a good tide to continue. Our final comment is that for OEMs and for the brand new market, dollars, well, for most OEMs, but there are some OEMs that work with euros or other coins, other currencies, and we have several things affecting the dollar exchange rate. There is much uncertainty still in the world landscape. If you think when 70% of building a vehicle is rubber, plastic, and metal, and all of this has to do with the value of the dollar, which is unstable for the time being, and this will have an impact on costs for OEMs, and this will affect as well the prices of brand new cars in the future. And finally, trying to answer the great question in our lecture is the following. Yes, we understand that in the short term, prices and demand will continue to press the market upwards. We believe it is very much heated right now, and we believe this will continue in the beginning of next year. And so it's important for OEMs and dealers all to be prepared to stand up to all this activity. Thank you very much, Fabio. And it occurs to me to ask you, follow. Hello, I hope you can hear me now. I apologize for the technical flaw. But this happens when you work live. You are prone to these things. Anyway, Fabio, I was going to ask you, you brought us the whole variation in prices, the lack of used cars in the market, the lack of new cars in the market. I would like to know from you, do you think the crisis is over, or are we living through a peak in demand similar uh, to the restriction of the market when people could not buy in the beginning of the crisis? Well, we have seen dealers that announced a layoff, and because 30, 45, 60 days later, uh, they are still beginning to resume production, and there are shortages still. There are some OEMs that have a backlog of orders from the dealers. They cannot deliver all the products to the market. So we believe the demand is going to persist. Of course, it varies from one OEM to another. Each one has their own sales challenges and their objectives to participate in the market. But we know that this will continue at least for several months until we have a balance again between production and sales. Well, the market is very much heated, and it's a unique moment when there is acceleration in sales, plus good margins, plus a shortage in used vehicles or used cars. So everyone has to pay attention in order to benefit from this moment. We also have questions from the audience, and I thank them all very much for being with us. We have a question from Roberto D'Alessio. He says, due to the lack of brand new cars, we can say the increase in the sales of used cars. Is it more frequent in cars with up to 1 year of use? Well, in our analysis of Auto Avaliar, we take into account cars of up to 3 years, from 2017 to 2018, more or less. Oh, yes, this demand happens for all models, with no exception. What is important is to mention that the average ticket has come up, has reached a historic level. And so we can say that the behavior of consumers, due to the lack of products, especially after OEMs stopped, we see a change in consumer behavior. Consumers are avoiding public transport. They don't want to travel by bus or in the underground. They prefer the safety of their own vehicle, and they even refuse ride sharing because apparently they opt for the safety of their car, trying to replace brand new cars because they are not very much available, because the price is going up. And so, why is it the average ticket for a used car goes up? Because they are asking for additional details, perhaps, in the used cars they buy. I read a lot about what happened in Korea and China, etc., and we saw this same behavior in their markets as well. I would like to ask you one last question concerning price. We have seen the prices of brand new cars go up a lot, also due to the inclusion of technology, because there are systems that did not exist before, and many of them are imported, and the dollar is going up, and so on. So the prices of new cars don't stop going up. Do you believe this is having an influence on the prices of used cars? Well, I told you a car is made of plastic, rubber, and steel, and all of these items suffer with the exchange variation. And it is true that the prices are going up, and they are going up at a point in time when the market is capable of affording this change. But your question speaks of an increase in prices due to the inclusion of more technology, and this goes to show um, the progress in the Brazilian industry. They are adding technology and charging a little more for that. In the used cars market, well, you have to consider that the technology that is included in a new car now will the car will be sold in 1 or 2 years, and then it will be a second-hand car that will be sold with technology, and therefore it will be more expensive. Used cars follow the rise in prices because the second-hand market follows what happens in the used car market 1 or 2 years later. All the technology items that we all love are being incorporated in cars, and clients are extremely attracted by technology. Well, thank you very much, Fabio. I hope we will talk again soon, and thank you very much for having spent this time with us. I thank you, Pedro, and all the production team of automotive business, and I thank the public as well for listening to what information I could share with you. Thank you very much. Okay, Fabio, we shall continue on this topic. Our topic is digital dealers and virus proof. We have three participants: Fabio Rabelo, the head of digitalization and new models in Volkswagen. Good morning, Fabio. Do you hear me? We also have with us Virgilio Giuliani, the executive director of Auto Honda. Do you hear me, Virgilio? I don't hear you though. I don't know if your mic is on. Good morning, all. It is a pleasure to be here with you. You also have Luciano Imperatore here with us. He prefers to be called Luca. He is the owner of HI building company. They specialize in the construction of dealer shops. Fabio, I will start with you. What is the digitalization model adopted by Volkswagen? Were existing dealers digitalized, or are new digital dealers being created? Well, what we call DGX, que é o Customer Digital Experience, is something we started to implement last year. When we see a difficulty like the pandemic, well, this fitted the situation like a glove, you know. We understand our customers have changed. Customers no longer want the same purchasing experience they had 60 years ago. So we started to create touch screen solutions, and they can see why a higher version is different from an entry version, and they can use tablets and they can use mobile technology. You can go to someone's home and show them. And we have implemented this in 95% of our dealers. And sometimes ask me sometimes, what was it like before the pandemic? Well, we had implemented 50% of the dealers with this technology, whereas nowadays it's about 95%. This process of digitalization, the digital experience for customers, is developed with our network development department. Clients want to get to the store, they want to be charmed, they want to see something different from what they saw in the internet. And then when we assess the surveys and the customer responses, we see that the vast majority of them were very impressed by the technology. We ask clients if they know about the technology, and we see from their replies that they have a good knowledge of technology. The result of this implementation is rather positive, and I think the pandemic has shown us how open we are to new technologies and how much we have to move fast. Well, the planning we had before helped us to adapt to the pandemic. Virgilio, it's your turn. At what stage of digitalization is the Honda network in the country? Well, we have to consider digitalization. We have to think of that. And the OEM has several initiatives to create a possibility to interact with consumers, very much along the lines mentioned by Fabio, which is to create alternatives for what is the consumer's desire. We have to identify how consumers want to buy. And for several years, we have been studying the contact points with consumers. We are slightly behind what Fabio just said, but we already have some experience, especially with augmented reality in the dealer stores. But we understand that diversity is a concern we have in order to offer different alternatives to consumers. A physical contact is the best alternative for a contact between the salesman and uh, the customer. However, the pandemic has forced us to make a move towards digitalization to allow for contacts to take place. Yes, we do. We are very concerned about focusing on this alternative to maintain our contacts with customers. Luca, I now have a question for you. For 30 years, your architecture firm has been designing stores for dealers. How is it? An architecture company can join the network of digitalization of dealers in the country. Well, you mentioned the real estate issue. We have over 30 years experience in this segment, and we notice a long time that there are several changes, and the most significant is what's happening now, of course. Now, all dealers went through different moments requiring different investment, and a while ago it wasn't difficult to find dealers who with especially in upstate Sao Paulo or in the northeast. It was easy to find dealers with 18,000 square meters in their property, but this is being reduced. And the automotive market is dynamic. It will be in place for many years. It won't stop existing. There will be a different format in the relationship between consumers and the product. But we developed two lines of business in the office, focusing on creating a model for dealer shops joining the physical and focal aspects. In other words, the journey of a customer inside the space of a dealer store. And so, what gets a customer to go to a dealer store? I can buy a car on the internet 100% digitally. I don't have to go to the store. However, there is a connection with brands, sometimes emotional connections. Well, there is identification with a brand, what it stands for, what message it brings to the person. And sometimes the message is no longer technical, it becomes emotional because each OEM has its own technology. But there is a clear tendency for a smaller, for less physical space because of digitalization. On the other hand, there is a phenomenon happening all over the world, which is shortage of space. Space is increasingly expensive. So for the activity to remain feasible, it needs to be reviewed in terms of the space required. Maybe it's not necessary for you to have 20 cars in your store. I can select 3 or 4. The, the highest models, and this is what attracts customers more. And we are now bringing in other partners, and the space of a dealer store will be not so much for selling, but to make it a point of convenience. So why not have a restaurant there? Why not have a travel agent in there? So there are values that create more of a flow in the store. So we consider that in a smaller space where you have a reception is more efficient than having a large dealer store that offers no attraction whatsoever to customers. And there is a tendency for this large space to be outside of the central area of town. And the other thing we offer is a very complete diagnosis because there are large investing groups and several dealers in the portfolio. So we try to optimize physical space, promoting mergers of two dealers in the space of one. And we also analyze the real estate assets this group has. You can have a building that is being used as offices, and then you have a dealer store in the ground floor in a multifunctional building. And a multifunctional building will have more traffic of people coming in and out. Well, I will start asking questions from the audience. And Fabio, I have a question here from Jaderson Rodrigues. He wants to know if people are getting to know about cars using cell phones or tablets. Oh yes, this is why we created augmented reality. When we launched the Nivus, we had decided to use augmented reality already. Then the pandemic came along and we sold 2,000 cars without people having seen the car at all. So the sale was excellent without spending one single cent on media. It was just word of mouth. We have a site called VW Experience, and you could have a Nivus in your garage. You could expand the picture. You could go in, you could change the color of the car. You could have a comfort line or a high line. The project was very well accepted. We launched it in Argentina as well, and we're going to expand to the rest of Latin America. And the idea is to continue with this platform because we understood that people are forever with cell phones in their hands. So why not use technology to take content to the palm top of people? The idea is that we can compare the Nivus with the car the client has now, and we are very happy and proud that we projected this for a world that is increasingly connected, and it is working well. I have another question from Roberto D'Alessio for you. There is an influence on these digital sales. What is the percentage of customers that buy Volkswagen totally digitally? Well, we're living through a transition. Lots of people still want to sit physically in the car and smell the car and so on. We started to make digital sales at the end of last year. And the first case was Santa Emilia, which is a dealer store in Ribeirão Preto. The customer didn't know what she was going to buy. She was thinking she had virtual reality goggles on and a tablet, and she bought a Highline car. E-commerce is selling like never before. I was looking at the papers today. E-commerce is selling this month more than they sold the whole of last year. There is growth. We will continue to see growth, but it needs to be controlled, and we have to take it easy. We shouldn't do things that would be uh, imprudent. Well, Virgilio, in the case of the Honda network, you say digitalization is going to take a while, but I would like you please to tell us if you think digitalization is an advantageous process or not. What are the pros and cons you consider about it? This is a very interesting question because we have a concept coming from Mr. Ishiro, the founder of Honda, in the sense that the company was born with the concept of mobility. The business started when Mr. Ishiro adapted a motor to his wife's bicycle. So the initial concept was to improve the lives of people using mobility. This is a very important concept for the dealers. So when we think about the business model, we think about the concept of innovation, but there should be perceived value for all the players in the system. So if we innovate and we allow clients or customers to see improvement and the benefit for themselves, well, all these improvements and this innovation comes in several layers. The dealer needs to work on it, and the OEMs as well. And we are always concerned about how much value is being added to the players in the chain, because implementation must be sustained and good for everyone. This is why we are adapting technology cautiously, but I have no doubt that all of us need to focus customers' convenience. We have to find a way to implement it in a balanced way. When we talk about smaller dealers, Luca mentioned that the area that's taken up and the actual need we have of space in dealer stores, if we make an effort to balance the main values in this operation, I am sure we have several opportunities to migrate investment from one sector of the business to another sector. Digitalization, for instance, is convenient to customers from the viewpoint of the purchasing process by the client. I have no doubt, due to the pandemic, 100% of the chain had to work a little on how to best serve consumers. We came across professionals who found it very difficult to adapt in the new channels of communication. It's a learning experience and we must accelerate. All the dealers must accelerate digitalization, aiming at convenience for customers. Luca, we have a question for you. You said that a dealer store is a place where vehicles and services are sold. How about selling also services of mobility? Some dealers are doing that already. What do you think? Well, as I said, we have a project in our office in which the dealer becomes mostly a place to provide services to the customers, or just anyone. The idea is to implement, for instance, a concierge. If I am a customer of the brand, I go there and I need to book a trip or I need to rent a car of that same brand. For instance, I travel to Fortaleza and I am a client of such and such a brand and I want to hire a car. So in reality, I shall be consolidating my relationship with my customer. The store becomes a service service provider. There is very much a trend for that. Dealers will become providers of mobility services. We notice today that in large urban centers, mobility is not a problem. I can rent a car, I can find a bicycle. We have all sorts of means. There will be drones in the future. They are still experimental, but Uber and mesmo Bosch has a partnership with Boeing to develop an air vehicle for large urban centers. Now, as we said in the beginning, we understand we always worked a lot with the OEMs, Volkswagen and others. There's always a standard for dealers to do with the brand, with the architectural language, the layout. In the past, it was only visual. Nowadays, it is conceptual because brands consider architecture as a means of communication for them to communicate their concepts. So we have this little difficulty. However, in view of the acceleration of the pandemic, we had to accelerate processes to bring quickly some solutions that have to do with the project idea, and we had to deliver as quickly as possible. Our view of an office is that there is a trend, and this is a possibility to make the cost more affordable, because costs are very high right now. It is very expensive to hire or purchase space. And we notice there is much of a focus on the customer's journey. In the past, there was an effort to show every model in every color and so on in the store, whereas now, with all the technology and virtual reality, you can have one model in the store and your client will see virtual reality goggles and so on. You can be well located in a place where there is much traffic of people, and you can sell mobility. You can have a restaurant, as I said. You can have a coffee shop, and or you can sell goods that have to do with the identity of the brand. It can be a premium brand with Cartier, for instance. So that sort of thing creates a stronger identity, and consumers will relate to the brand in this manner. So one brand reinforces the other, really. Thank you, Luca, for your answer. We are coming close to the end of our meeting, but I would like to ask Fabio one more question. Volkswagen started to digitalize their dealers using augmented reality already in 2017. During this period, things progressed, but not as fast as now. I would like to know, Luca, what do you think will happen after the pandemic? We will have dealers with several digital tools, or do you think showrooms will tend to disappear? I don't believe they will disappear. I fully agree with everything Luca said. And it's going to be impossible for dealers to remain as big as they were. Volkswagen has 3 models of cars with 3 variations each. So a very large store would be necessary to show them all. We don't believe the post-pandemic world is going to go back to what it was before. Already in 2017, we created an area for digitalization, and I have the pleasure of managing this sector that was created in 2016, really. So when the pandemic arrived, we were ready because we planned long ago a change based on the consumers' behavior. Stores will continue to exist. Dealers won't have to have 100 models present in the store. Customers will not stop going to the store. Maybe some of them will continue to buy from their sofas. Dealers have to invest in hardware. They need to buy virtual reality equipment. They are investing in that. So we believe that this path is here to stay. We continue to improve the experience. It's like in any digital product, and it is a product which shows that is endless, because when you get to be a state of the art, you have to improve on everything all over again. I would like to thank you all for being here with us. Our chat was very interesting. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye, Luca, Virgilio, and Fabio. Thank you. Best regards to all. Well, we shall close this session with what we started. Caporal is going to come here to give us his conclusions on the distribution of vehicles. Your microphone is not on. I hope you will have liked, like I did. The subjects all complemented each other with new ideas, and your participation was essential. I would like to thank automotive business for having provided us a discussion with such quality and allow us to participate. I hope you continue to enjoy this week with ABX 20. Thank you very much. Thank you, Caporal. We had a day with very important content concerning the future of our sector. I would like to thank you all for your participation, and I would like to remind you that in the site of the meeting, you won't just find the lives. You will find lots of material and podcasts and videos and so on. Everything you need to know about the future of the automotive sector. I bid goodbye to you, and I call Paula. Pedro, thank you very much for your participation, and I thank Giovanna and all of the special guests we had here, and special thanks to Auto Avaliar. They offer us the content of this second day of our journey. As I said yesterday, you can access the site abx.com.vc, and you can see the live from yesterday and from today. And all the other lives are going to be put there as well, besides 30 podcasts and videos that we recorded with great leaders from the mobility sector. You will also find the masterclass sector. Yesterday was very interesting. Everything we did yesterday is there in the automotive business site. So there's lots of content. But yesterday I promised that along this week, every day I shall draw a lottery offering a book. But many people have been asking us who has been translating a sign language. And we're going to show a little video for you to know about them.
Estivemos durante todo o mês de outubro na SVWC, o maior evento de transformação digital da América Latina, levando conhecimento em Libras e proporcionando inúmeras oportunidades a toda a comunidade surda. Convidamos você a fazer parte dessa transformação que vai incluir mais de 500 milhões de surdos em todo o mundo. Vamos juntos buscar mais igualdade entre as pessoas. Junte-se a Wise Hands.
Well, this was the message from Wise Hands, and I recommend you take them to your meetings as well, because accessibility is essential to online events. The raffle today is the prize is this book. We draw your code numbers, and if you came straight here, the two winners of this book were Tadeu Melo and Barbara Ferreira. We will get in touch with you to send you these books. And tomorrow we start again at 10 o'clock. We'll be here from 10 to 12. But do go to our site and do consume all the content we offer you there. All of this was very carefully prepared for you to have lots of information and inspiration along the journey. And see you tomorrow at 10. Have a nice afternoon. Thank you.
Driverless cars, connected services, new sharing concepts. The automotive industry is in the midst of change. The Internet of Things is opening up a whole new world of possibilities that will push the boundaries of mobility. But what will the future really look like on the roads? One thing is for certain. New technologies are going to revolutionize today's mobility. They will turn the journey into a digitally enhanced experience and connect the vehicle to its surroundings. With Bosch, connected mobility is becoming a reality. More efficient, safer, and more comfortable and convenient.
Itaú Veículos. Soluções completas, ferramentas modernas, alta tecnologia. Reconhecimento facial, mais segurança e agilidade na compra e venda de veículos. Chat na plataforma digital. Comunicação mais fácil entre a concessionária e nosso time. Open Banking. União entre plataformas e parceiros. Inteligência artificial. Essencial na captura e gestão de leads. Soluções de mobilidade. Com a Connect Car, seu cliente vai mais longe. Olhamos para o futuro. Queremos sempre mais. Vamos juntos? Itaú Veículos. Nosso negócio é viabilizar o seu.
Mounting exterior automotive parts can be a slow process that requires the use of a noxious chemical adhesion promoter. However, our Tessa ACX primerless line of high-performance double-sided acrylic foam tapes eliminates the need for primers. These tapes quickly achieve a high level of strength and provide the thermal expansion characteristics needed when mounting side moldings, decorative trims, emblems, and other exterior attachment parts. To learn more about the benefits and cost savings of using our Tessa ACX Plus primerless line on difficult-to-bond substrates such as polypropylene EPDM, TPO, and TPE, visit tessatape.com.